For most people in Tsakani, a weekday begins long before dawn. In their four-roomed house, a family of four needs a strict morning regimen. The Mopong family live a good but humble life. While three grown-up children have already left home and are trying to make it on their own, Steve and his older brother Anthony are still in school. Their mother Sandra is a dedicated wife and caring mother, a housewife who looks after the neighbors' children for extra income. The father, Johannes, leaves for work just after sunrise and arrives home long after dark. But this is where tonight's special assignment ends. The beginning takes us back to a time most South Africans would prefer to forget.
En ons sal bly voortbestaan as ons die tekens gee dat ons wil voortgaan met die werk van die voortplanting en die behoud en die veredeling van die westerse beskawing en tradisies in hierdie suidpunt van Afrika.
This was the world of the Lange family in 1955. Sonny and Abraham were staunch Afrikaners who supported and believed in the government of the day. It served them well. Then their daughter, Sandra, was born. Unlike her older brother, Sandra was much darker than her parents, but it didn't seem to matter. She was their child, they said. They loved her as much as they did her lighter-skinned baby brother. The Langes lived in a remote place called Brereton Park. They were shop owners. Sonny tended to the shop at home, which served the nearby black community of Driefontein, while Abraham ran a shop at Punbult, a few kilometers away. Sandra grew up like any other white little Afrikaans girl. She seemed outgoing and happy, unaware of the storm that would rage around her later in life. Today, at the age of 44, Sandra is reserved and shy. She doesn't speak easily about herself or her feelings. Yet she still remembers her carefree years, now light years away. Her mother was gentle and protective, says Sandra.
Sy was een baie goeie mens, maar ek verlang nog baie aan haar. En sy was ook baie lief vir my ook. Sy wou nie haar hart attack moet noem. As stout is of ek maar net altyd by haar gewees het in die winkel en haar help.
Her father was a patriarch and very strict.
Hy was ook 'n goeie mens, maar hy was baie kwaai. Maar met hom was ek maar net die meeste tyd, miskien naweke. Ek het hom nooit gaan help by die winkel. Maar hy het my altyd naweke geleer dryf. Maar hy was kwaai as hy my leer dryf as ek 'n fout doen. Het hy altyd geraas.
Sandra's baby brother was 9 years younger than her, and though lighter in complexion, he resembled his sister. Sandra was unaware that she was different, until the day she had to go to boarding school in Piet Retief.
Party van die kinders het my altyd aangegaan met my en dan het ek hulle nog geslaan.
Aangegaan?
Ja, hulle het vir my gesê. Ek is die witte. Wat soek ek hier by die skool, saam met hulle by die skool.
Sandra made it to standard 2. She was a timid 11-year-old when she was expelled, yet her memory is vivid when it comes to the man who in her mind was responsible for turning her world upside down.
Toe roep meneer van Donder my. Toe gaan ek na sy kantoor toe sê vir my, ja, ek moet saam met die polisie gaan, my klere gaan pak by die koshuis. Toe vra ek vir hom nou hoekom, toe sê net vir my, ek mag hier skool loop.
Mr. van Tonder was the head of the hostel, and served on the school committee at that time. Parents had petitioned the school to have Sandra expelled. The committee decided to refer her case to the Department of Home Affairs, where she was officially classified black. Callously, the administrator of the Transvaal authorized her expulsion, and in Piet Retief, laws were obeyed.
En ons kos is toe gaan pak ek my klere en toe vat hulle my nou na my pa toe. Hy het nogal geskrik en hy was kwaad. Toe maak hy die winkel toe gaan vat hy my nou huis toe. My ma het ook geskrik toe by die huis kom, maar wat gaan aan nou? Hoekom is ek toe by die huis? Sy was ook hartseer.
While Sandra's lighter-skinned younger brother was allowed to remain and finish school, she became homebound, with her father as educator. For 2 years, he battled with the authorities to have his isolated and dejected daughter reclassified white.
Toe het my pa sak gemaak. Toe vat hulle nou bloedtoetse van my bloed, my pa en my ma se. Toe is die bloedtoetse, toe bewys die bloedtoetse dat ek is hulle kind. Toe is ek weer geklassifiseer as blank.
Finally, when she could go back to a white school, she was accepted by a Roman Catholic school in Newcastle. But it was too late. Sandra had fallen behind in her schoolwork and struggled with English. The nuns were good to her, but being much older than the others in her class, she missed her friends back home.
Ek het partykeer so anderster gevoel, maar want ek was gelukkiger as ek saam met swart mense was.
At 15, Sandra ran away from home with a black man from Driefontein called Petrus Swani. When last seen, she and Petrus had 2 children and were living in a so-called homeland. Her white family had severed all ties, and she had come to accept the black community, who in turn had accepted her. 25 years later, South Africa has no homeland and people are no longer classified on race. Yet Sandra remains haunted by her past. Hers is a history filled with loss, a struggle for survival with no time for reflection. Now Sandra embarked on a journey to revisit her past that would perhaps lay it to rest. Her only request was that her youngest son, Steve, accompany her. Ironically, Steve's 11, the same age Sandra was when her world of innocence started crumbling. The destination, Brereton Park. It was a misty morning when we arrived at what was once the home of the Lange family. Other people live there now, and what's left of the dwelling looks different. Yet the scene was picturesque, and the new occupants paid little attention to their visitors. They seemed accustomed to people stopping by, taking pictures and asking questions. Simon Molocha has lived in the house since Sandra's parents moved away. He told her he still remembered her as a little girl about Steve's size, and said the 2 of them were welcome to look around. Sandra's parents also had cattle, and she remembered how the young calves used to lick and suck her hands. Steve failed miserably to share her experience. But he did make his mother smile, and for a while Sandra was 11 years old again, with pleasant memories. Her thoughts also went back to Petrus, the vegetable seller from Driefontein, whom she got to know at 13, before she was sent to the convent in Newcastle. Wat het jy maak van hom al?
Ek het maar net lief geraak vir hom. En toe het het maar uitgegaan, wat my ouers nog nie geweet het. My ma het eers uitgevind, maar toe het sy nou met my geraas, maar toe sê sy vir my pa moet nie dit goed te hoor nie. Maar toe lyk my hy het uitgevind. Toe was hy baie kwaad vir my. Toe hy beloof hy gaan, as hy vir Petrus kry, gaan hy hom doodskiet. Toe het hy maar nie weer daar gekom, hy het maar net deur die dag gekom as my pa nie daar is. Toe besluit ek en hy maar om te loop, saam te loop. Toe bel my ma vir my pa. Toe hy nou kom, toe sê hy wil die polisie bel. Toe sê my ma vir hom, nee, hy moet my hom los.
Dink jy jou ma het jou verstaan?
Ek dink so sy het verstaan.
Sandra's journey took her across the border to Swaziland, travelling as a South African citizen. Yet Sandra was already in her 20s by the time she finally managed to get any form of legal identification. Wanting to be with Petrus, with whom she already had 2 children, she applied for a so-called coloured ID. But her father didn't want his then classified white daughter, who was once classified black, to be reclassified coloured. His refusal to sign a document condemned his own daughter to living life as a non-person. It's 30 years since Sandra and Petrus fled to Swaziland. Now she's a tourist. Then, she was a 15-year-old white girl and Petrus a black man. 3 months later, they were arrested. Sandra thinks her father must have called the police.
Hy het gebel, want toe die polisie inkom, toe vra hulle vir Petrus was die burken wat hy gesteel het. Toe sê hy het niemand gesteel nie. Ons is lief vir mekaar.
Sandra was taken to Carolina, where she spent 2 long months behind bars, with neither one of her parents coming to see her. Here, a confused and frightened young girl was forced into making a choice that would determine her destiny.
Ek dink hulle wil my maar skrik maak dat ek stem terug gaan tuis toe. Want hulle te sê hulle gaan my, as ek nie wil terug gaan huis toe, gaan hulle my daar hou. Toe sê ek vir hulle, ek het klap besluit, ek gaan nie terug huis toe, maar ek gaan saam met Petrus bly.
Sandra was finally released and allowed to live with the Zwane family. Years later, she and Petrus's mother, Jenny, are still close. It's a special bond that was established when Jenny had accepted her as a daughter. In turn, she accepted responsibility for helping Jenny to raise Petrus's children from a previous marriage. At 16, Sandra fell pregnant. Jenny helped her to give birth to a boy she named Henry. Elsie was born a year later. It was Petrus and Jenny who helped Sandra maintain contact with her mother.
Wathi Petrus angihambe ngiyotshela mako wakho ukuthi wena sowuboshiwe. Naye abevalele eswazini. Wena sowusedrobheni eGalini. Wathi-ke mako wakho sengivile nge-telegram. Ngithi ngitshela ubaba wakhe uthi yena akangeni lapho.
Male telegram yathunyelwa ubani?
Angazi eGalini ntwana. Washo njalo maka. Wathi sesitholile nge-telegram. Manje nake ngithi kubaba asambe siyemhlola. Uthi yena akayi. Manje nami ngiboshwe ngumthetho wekwenda. Kuthi into engayenza. Wathi-ke ngiyacela nedi naphumile ungibhasobhele. Azange kulahla abekhuluma mosu Petrus. Athi nedi sibangifuna basi. Yebo. Nangu basi nangekho nibuye nihlale nixoxe naye.
Nalesi sikhathi bengivama kuya kumama wami ngize nempahla for abojoki bokutina.
Nami. Nanje likhona lokho lo waliphatha kumake la. Yolikhona sisi.
Sandra secretly paid short visits to her mother and was able to show her both Henry and Elsie. She saw her mother during the day when her father was at his shop in Pandal. But after the Langes moved to Pongola, her parents worked side by side which made secret visits impossible. Sandra never saw her mother again.
Ek dink maar sy was bang vir my pa man, want hy het vir my gesê, hy het sê, as hy my kan kry, gaan hy my doodskiet. Dan skiet hy homself dood. Sy wou nog nie, hy moet nog zoiets aanvang nie.
Het kon nie vir haar maklik gewees het nie.
My pa was maar net kwaad, omdat ek nog weggeloop het met 'n swart man.
Wat wou hy gehad het?
Ek wou gehad dat ek moet met 'n blanke uitgaan en trou.
Sy jy kon.
Ek sou nie kon nie.
Life was good for a while. She and Petrus had a shop in Chakastad and did well. But after their third baby died, Petrus started drinking. He became violent and abusive. Eventually, Sandra had no choice but to leave, for her children's sake. Petrus died a few years later, and for the past 20 years, Sandra has blamed herself for leaving him and his mother. Sandra, now needing to release those feelings of guilt and loss, for the first time told Jenny why and how she left. Without any legal documents, and with only the clothes on their back, she and her children moved to the East Rand. Here she became seriously ill, and with a heavy heart, she unselfishly turned to the welfare for help.
Hulle was by 'n ander plek. Hulle nog nie pleegmoeder gekry vir hulle. Het was so by 'n plek wat hulle welsynkinders bebeere, wat tot hulle pleegmoeders kry. Maar gelukkig toe kry hulle nou die auntie van Bosburg.
Henry and Elsie eventually did get to live with their mother again. Today they are happy, well-adjusted adults who are close to their mother and her husband, Johannes McClong. They respect their mother and are grateful for the sacrifices she made. Sandra seems contented and determined to give her children the sense of acceptance and belonging she was denied.
En ek had niemand doen. Want ek is nou gelukkig, want my kinders is by my. Hulle is groot. En ek het daarom iemand gekry wat my oppas, wat baie stil is. So it's all right now. Daarom beter as tyd.
But Sandra still had to embark on the most difficult part of her journey. This road led to Piet and her estranged family, the root cause of her rejection as child and the guilt she still bears. Nearly 20 years ago in Pongola, Abraham Lange did acknowledge that Sandra was their daughter, but he refused to discuss her. Sunny said she no longer saw her because her husband wouldn't allow her. Her face revealed years of anguish. Only a mother suffers when a child is lost. Sandra last heard from her mother more than 10 years ago when her father died. Some money and a 2-page letter without a returning address. Sunny is still alive but elderly and fragile and has suffered 3 strokes. Abraham lies buried in Pretoria. Both her brothers made it clear that they'd prefer not to see her. She has made her own bed, they said, and they'd rather leave the past alone. They also felt it best for their ailing mother not to hear from or see her daughter. The shock might kill her. And so Sandra, the little girl who once epitomized the absurdity and injustice of apartheid, remains barred from her family, with a self-appointed burden of guilt.
Ek verlang hulle baie en ek wil verskoning sê. Ek is baie jammer omdat ek geloop het van die huis af. Ek moes by die huis geloop het. Ek was nie gelukkig nie, man. Ek moet my ma sien, want ek hoor sy is baie siek. Ja. Miskien as ek haar kan sien, dan sal ek aangaan met my lewe.
Since then, new light has been thrown on the subject of Sandra Laing. Mr. Willie Meyer, who was the family's elder in the Dutch Reformed Church at the time Sandra was enrolled at Piet Retief Primary, said he foresaw trouble and managed to convince the government to accept Sandra in a so-called international school in Pretoria, a school especially designed for the children of foreign diplomats. School fees and boarding costs would have been set aside. But when Mr. Meyer gave Sandra's father the good news, Abraham Lange defiantly rejected the offer. For reasons of his own, he insisted that his daughter remain in Piet Retief. Sandra has come a long way since those days. Now in Tsakani, her life revolves around her family. Back in Piet Retief, the primary school has undergone a metamorphosis. Though the Afrikaans classes are no different, the English classes are happily mixed. The children prefer to be educated in English, explained the principal, Mr. Piet Rood.
We had to make some changes. The staff had to make some changes. We decided that we were going to meet those head on. Coming from a conservative background, etc. And now all of a sudden we have a dual medium school with four cultures in the school without really being prepared for this. And the challenge is obviously now to try and make it worthwhile for everybody and to make it succeed.
Judging by the children, and specifically those now living in the hostel, the school has come a long way in meeting its challenge.
The first time my brother came here, there was just Afrikaans children because they didn't allow English children to come to the school. And then my mum was just fighting till he came to the school, then also came to the school.
I thought the people will be ugly to me.
And were they?
Nice to me.
I feel very happy that there's Afrikaans children, and I can also learn Afrikaans now.
Mixing colors is not so bad. It's just that doesn't matter if you mix colors. It won't harm your family or anything as long as you join in the party.
Bravely, Sandra decided that she too should join in the party, though she knew it wouldn't be easy going back to her first memories of rejection. The irony is that while she had run away to Swaziland 30 years ago, many of these children now came across the border to the same school.
Hallo Sandra, ons het baie van jou gehoor. Hoe het jy alles gedoen?
Ek het die skool geloop van graad 1 af. Toe ek 11 jaar oud was. Toe het hulle my uitgesit. Toe mag ek nie weer skool loop.
Sandra, just want to tell you that don't feel ashamed of yourself that you're welcome in the school to bring your children or something, and the school has changed. It's changed very much, and it's very nice. It's a very nice school. We learned very quickly things, and
whenever we have a fight with any Afrikaans children, white children, then the teachers always help us and they tell us that color doesn't matter, we're all the same, and that we must just be friends, and that it wasn't how it used to be many years ago.
Wat maar alle jare 'n goeie skool. Is maar nog nie terug van die apartheid wat ons so gemaak het. Ja, dit is 'n goeie skool.
You're really strong to think, to handle these things you've done. And I just want to tell you that we all love you, Sandra. Sandra, wil net iets sê vir jou. Goed in hierdie wêreld change. And long-term things have been changed, and next time we will carry the world. Try and make it more happier.
Ek is maar net hartseer omdat ek nou vir julle gesien het en ek was hele ouderdom toe ek uitgesit is. Maar dit is nou alright. Ek het nou my getrouwd en ek het my eie huis en kinders. Alles is nou weg.